Welcome back to RLCS Overtime, ladies and gentlemen. We just got done talking to the team captain of NRG, Jacob. I'm your host, Wave Punk. I got a big old findable carpet. I found it. It's right there. Found my carpet.
Big old carpet?
Yep. Hey. And over on this side, got James Bot, Shogun. Guys, how you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Wave, how are you?
Oh dear. No, I just got done talking to Jacob, so I'm doing great. It was a great time. And let's get into Europe here. This side, you brought it up in the first segment. North America has just been Sweep City. Yes. And then Europe has not been in any way, shape, or form. We started off with Northern Gaming versus Mockit. Northern Gaming, #3 team in the world, 2 seasons in a row, coming in hot here as they were able to get the win over Mockit.
We were expecting this to be a pretty close series. Mockit, they had a slow start. Their record wasn't that great, but everybody thought that they were a contender team. But NG, they swept the floor with them.
Yeah, it really is a problem right now for Mockit in terms of they came into the first week, they had that disconnection issue, and then they've come into this week. It's been a team that hasn't really quite got themselves out of the gate. And we look towards their team, we look towards their roster, and right now I'm looking at Fairy Peak, who's a player who is phenomenal. He's one of the best players in the world, but he has not been performing in the RLCS. One of the reasons why I think this is, he's never played in the RLCS before. He was expected to get here, but when he got here, when he actually qualified, you saw him on Twitter.
Remember this save, though?
Remember this save.
That was tough.
He made it up later on, he did, but that's the save that lost them the entire series. I mean, Fairy Peak, he's never played in the RLCS before. He thought it was a huge deal to him when he eventually got in. I feel like we're expecting more for him from a player with no big game experience.
Yeah, so how do you guys feel about Mockit right now? We've seen 3 weeks of league play. Many people expected them to be #1 coming into all of this, and they're still struggling to kind of have any game, any series that we're like, oh yes, this is the Mockit we were looking at.
I think they're still pretty safe. As long as they can make it into the top 6, they're going to be fine. There's still a question mark there between them and Team Secrecy on whether, like, who's going to finish in that 7th spot. But honestly, they could play spoiler. Like, we might see a Mockit versus Flipside or versus NG or a crazy matchup like that to determine who is going to get to go to the World Championship and who's not. It's going to be an interesting thing to watch. I'm more interested to think about who's going to finish top 2 because, again, it's anyone's game.
I mean, even just to talk about the stats of that game, 29 shots total for that entire series for Northern Gaming and only 18 shots from Mockit. So even if you look at saves, it's not that Northern Gaming was making more saves. They actually had less saves total, only 11 saves to 17. And so they had less defense to play because Mockit wasn't able to get a lot of offense. Now, you know, do you attribute that to Northern Gaming playing really well, Mockit performing not so well, or a bit of the both?
Well, Remco, he went crazy. He didn't play phenomenally in the first time they played this season, but in this game, he was insane. He was the player of the week this week for Europe. He should have had more goals, but that one goal off the wall, Devo stole it at the last second. Yeah, his best goal got stolen by Devo, but he also had that overtime winner on Wasteland. So Remco's, he played. He was like the key for Northern Gaming and why they...
I saw your eye twitch a little bit there, by the way, when you said Wasteland.
Wasteland, yeah.
He's not a fan.
Carpet said that was my favorite map. I'm setting the record straight. It's not.
It's his second favorite map, ladies and gentlemen. Penta.
You're a liar.
Penta was the next team we got to see here in the EU. They went up against Mockit. Mockit did not get swept for the day. They got the win here against Penta, as Penta had a bit of their hands full.
Yeah, Penta, this is one of those teams, again, that's hovering near the bottom. They had to get some wins this week. Mockit was a tough opponent for them and ended up being too much for them.
And, I mean, just again, using the statistics of this, 32 shots on goal for Penta, 36 for Mockit, but Mockit had nearly double the saves that Penta had, so that showed a bit of shot accuracy as well.
It wasn't that Penta didn't play well either. They kept with them, and it was a team effort. Everybody playing a part in the offense. But Mockit, they needed this series. They knew that they needed the series. And to stay alive in Season 3, they got the win.
For me right now, Mockit, this was the match they had to win, no matter what. Thankfully for them right now, they've only lost to teams that we expect either they could lose against or teams roughly of their caliber of skill. This is a match that if they ended up losing it, that they could really be looking at a dangerous situation for that top 6 spot.
But on the flip side, though, they were in the same position that Mockit was, losing their first series, coming into the second series, this time against the undefeated Leftovers. Everyone had Leftovers as the favorite here, but then Penta swept them. We thought it might have been a reverse sweep, but that eluded us this week.
Yeah, we were talking about how we don't get many sweeps here in Europe. I believe this was the second sweep of all of European League play as the Leftovers got dropped, and I am tilted by this whole situation because I was the only one who picked Penta to beat Mockit, and Gibbs was the only one who picked Penta to beat Leftovers. Yeah. So I lost out in both of those situations, and Gibbs, the wizard, picked the undefeated team to get beat.
Gibbs is still in last place, though, right?
He's tied for fourth for last
place.
Tied
for last. I like saying that.
It's super close right now between these on the caster pick'ems.
Yeah, but again, Penta. They played well versus Mockit, and then they played well versus the Leftovers. And if you're just tuning in for the first week ever, the Leftovers already beat Northern Gaming and Flipside and were undefeated. And then Penta, like the Snasky interview, Snasky said the only teams that he thought that they were going to beat was Cownose and Penta, and they lost to Penta.
And you have to look at this right here. Penta, they get themselves a big win in that one. You have to ask yourself, where would they be if in week 2 they didn't lose out on Pwned, where they switched in Mummy Snow? They lost both of those games. If Pwned was there, could they have done something else with it? Could they be in an even better position?
And so the Leftovers, they dropped this series here. Do we see them ending the season 6-1? Do they drop some more? What is this? Is this the turning point for the Leftovers?
Well, they have a rough schedule ahead of them. They've got Pocket Aces, the team that has the best record in Europe right now. They're playing out of their minds. They've shut everybody down who they've played. And then they also have Mockit, who's another talented team but has been underperforming. So they don't have the easiest road ahead of them. But if they can make some magic happen, they might secure one of the top 2 seeds.
And this to me is the beauty of this level of play that we saw week number 1. They go up against Northern Gaming and Flipside, and we're like, oh, now they've taken care of their hard schedule, right? And now halfway through the season, we're like, nope, they still got Mockit and Pocket in front of them. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be rough.
It's so close in Europe. Like we said before, there was 8 3-0s, 8 sweeps in North America total so far this season, and only 2 in all of Europe. The games have been so close between all the teams. Europe is pretty stacked.
Now, mostly just because I'm sick of listening to James talk, because he's been talking this whole time.
Sorry.
No, I mean, a lot of it comes to expectations, I think, too. In the beginning, no one expected anything from Leftovers, and they had the top 2 teams to go against in that first week. So there's ever a time to show up, it's the week where no one's ready for you. And I think now everyone's looking at Leftovers as one of the threatening teams, one of the teams they have to be careful about. So I think now everyone's going into these games a little more aggressive, trying to shut it down, and they're analyzing that team. Because I think, you know, as a pro team, you're going to be careful as to who you really pay attention to.
Yeah, one thing we heard from Jacob in the interview was that, like, as the back-to-back world champs, they are, or North American champions, they feel a lot of pressure to perform. And for them, it drives them to improve. But now, as we're seeing Leftovers in a similar situation, nobody's sleeping on them anymore. And everybody's coming into this with lights out. And they do go up against Cownose in the next series. Cownose does not manage to get the win here as Leftovers do bounce back after being swept. Good for them to keep that hopes alive, but Cownose is also in a rough situation now.
But in classic Leftover fashion, this one also went to a Game 5. Their only wins have all been Game 5 wins.
They'd like to do an awful lot. Cownose really put themselves on the map, though, in this series as, like, yeah, this is not a situation where the 8th best team or the current place 8th team in Europe is to be, like, completely wiped out. No, they come here, they can play the entire time. They work really well during weekly tournaments. They're a team that, as we were saying with Mockit, maybe some players need a little bit more experience, but I expect to see this to be a strong team in future seasons, maybe not this one.
And I mean, I don't see this very often. Both teams with identical shots. 39 shots on goal for both teams, so they both had equal amounts of pressure. And the games went, essentially, if you weren't watching, one team won the first game, and the other team won the second game, and they alternated all the way until Game 5.
And Farah, though, Snasky talked about it, just the fact that they picked up Farah looking for that third player. He was key in this series. He scored over half their goals. He put in 6 of the goals for the Leftovers, and they were all pretty tight games.
And with Cownose, they drop this series here, but then they move on to face against Flipside. Not exactly who you want to be facing off against after dropping a series to the Leftovers either, as Flipside is able to take the series 3-1, returning in style to the RLCS.
Yeah, but Flipside, I was a little worried because this was a game that, you know, you're the defending world champions, you're coming in, you're going against the last place team in your region, you should wipe the floor with them.
This was a game where we looked at Cownose took the very first matchup, and they took it pretty convincingly at that. But sometimes as analysts, we like to go back in games and go, all right, what was the moment where everything started to turn around? This one, I don't think there's been a more obvious moment ever. Game 2, 1 goal up, and suddenly Marky Dudai hits a hat-trick in 14 seconds, 5 goals in a minute for Flipside. And from there, it was all F3.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was an RLCS record. That has to be hat trick in 14 seconds.
I can't imagine that ever being done ever. I mean,
or happening again. That was like a fluke.
That'll be a kind of one of those funky stats we pull out in 4 seasons. We'll be like, oh my gosh, this hasn't happened since season 3 when Mockit against Cownose. Yeah,
One
they
of
were
the more
they
fun
were,
things.
Go ahead.
Sorry. So whenever we're over casting and we get to come back, we get to see the notes that everybody takes because we have a laptop that we share. Okay.
Who takes the best notes?
Now I don't mean to call them out too much, but Leafx, I love the way you take notes. All right. This is an excerpt of what goes on in Leaf's brain. It says, "Niexkok, you are quick to get gain 1, Ivor time." It's amazing. Ivor time.
Ivor time.
I honestly think that we might be able to rename this show Ivor Time.
Ivor time?
It's genius.
Should we get in contact?
I don't know. Leafx has the trademark.
Maybe for the Canadians,
if you want it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Carpet.
Ivor time. I'm for it, man.
Let's look at the EU standings after 3 weeks. Let's get back to actual Rocket League here. And right now it is Pocket Aces. They did not play in week 3. They are undefeated though. Everyone else chasing after them.
The bye week, they're just going to have some time to rest. But again, I am looking at these standings, and with 2 weeks left of league play, I don't know what's going to happen.
No, you really cannot predict this right now. Yes, Pocket Aces are in the lead, but look at who they've got coming up. F3, Team Secrecy, The Leftovers, Northern Gaming. That is not a safe #1 spot right now. And with so many teams literally just behind them, that top 2 position is under fire.
And it's pure gold. Like, you are desiring that because no matter what team that you have to play against in that first round of the EU Championship, there's a good chance that you could lose that game. So that top 2 spot is everybody just wants that so bad. In North America, we feel like we know which teams are stacked above the rest, but in Europe, no.
Yeah, it's still anyone's game here in Europe. It's very exciting to see this action completely unfold. And I'm excited to see who's going to make it into those top 2. But right now, let's just look at the top 5 plays from Europe. These players, so much cool stuff happened this weekend. North America was great. Europe was even better.
Well, that's generally what people think. I'm not going to side one way or another.
Right.
But Devo stealing this goal, he should not get. His name shouldn't be on this. This was all Remco.
Look at it, just goes up, and Remco's on the wall, and then
look at this, all of the skill in the world.
Devo, get credit for that.
That's the carpet touch right there.
I demand a recount. Remco at number 5.
I mean, you got to get your stats picked up. But Mystic here at number 4 from Mockit Esports, just good old classic air dribble.
Yeah, this one was insane.
There's a nice redirect. Like he recalculates. He goes up, and then he's like, touches. Wait, no, let's go this way instead.
Yeah, that one just absolute air control, and that last touch was absolutely necessary to sneak it by the final defender, and that actually tied up that game, and I believe they went on to win that game. So huge play from Mystic.
Yeah, number 3, killer number 7 here on Penta Sports. This one of the fanciest little rolls I've seen in a long time in pro play.
Yeah, this was to shut out the Leftovers and complete the reverse sweep, so that was just a high impact goal as well.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean, we look at that goal. If Leftovers could have taken it, then we would have been shouting out, reverse sweep, reverse sweep. Instead, all we got to say was sweep, thanks to Killer.
But one player that impressed me from Cownose and has impressed me week after week is Niexkok. He is the offense for Cownose.
Niexkok, as Leaf would say. Niexkok. No, but I casted him most of the weekend, and my God, the amount of times I had to shout his name out loud for just the plays he was doing. Really solid player, and oftentimes always following through. He rarely goes for anything risky, but when he does, he always capitalizes.
The last one, Dan Sizzle is how it's pronounced. I've been fully informed by Twitter. Thank you all.
And Dan Sizzle, another Cownose player, even though they did not get a series win, they played out of their minds in some places. This control from Dan Sizzle was it was fantastically fun to watch.
Both North America and EU, top 2 plays from teams that didn't win a single series.
It's all about the plays, baby.
Dude,
if these players
are so strong,
you might as well look good trying.
No, wow.
You might as well just win.
Oh, man.
Just do it for the memes, right? Anyways, that does it for our EU recap here. It's been fun. When we come back next week is Midseason Mayhem. If you missed it last year, oh my goodness, you are in for a fun ride. It's going to be a great time as we're going to be picking out the bracket. We're going to be telling you how it works. So much fun stuff going to be happening here. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be great.